Well, hello everybody. Danny back from Deepsouth Homestead from Porch Time. I'm going to try to sit on the porch today, guys. It's cooled off a good bit. It's only 102 heat index today. That beats the heck out of 126 and 120 and 121. That's what it's been for weeks on end here. Today's been a very unusual day. It was a day I had planned out for. I had tons of things planned for today, because I knew it was going to be a cooler day. And Wanda and we had set up so many plans over at Pecan Grove. We said, man, we're going to be able to get this done, we'll get that done. You know, man, we were just looking so forward to it. And, well, let's just say things changed. So, to give you an update on where we're at here at Deepsouth Homestead, we're harvesting our figs right now. I had to kill a whole pile of crows. We came home and crows were everywhere. I ended up taking out all the crows. And that pretty much, they were eating my pears. And I think y'all saw a video where Wanda brought a pear in where something had been pecking on. I told her, I said, it looks like a crow. Well, I come home early one day and sure enough, it was crows. I got rid of about a half a dozen of them things out of one tree around there. One thing you learn about crows is they mourn their dead. So if you shoot one, just be patient. They'll come back because they always mourn their dead. So we're picking figs. We have sugar cane growing. Our sweet potatoes is still going. My Star of David okra is drying out here. It's the plants look horrible, but the okra is really nice looking okra on it. Because I didn't really pick anything off of it. I just let them go to seed. And when you let a plant just go to seed, it really doesn't make a lot of pods. It just, the plant gets up big and puts on what pods it's going to put on. You leave them on there, it realizes it's gone to seed and it don't make any more. So we got that doing. I'm trying to save some Cocozelle squash seeds. I've got about 6 or 8 of them at the house, and I let them grow to be, I don't know, some of them's almost 3 feet long, and they're bigger rounder than a baseball bat, and they done turned dark yellow striped colored, you know, all that. And I went ahead and took the seeds out of 2 of them, but the seeds all shriveled up in them, so I don't know if they were very plump when I took them out, but they shriveled up to nothing when they dried. So I'm not sure if they're even any good. I'm letting the other ones just sit there and continue to feed off of the squash, because they're all dark orange and yellow and everything, so I'm pretty sure I got them at the right time. But, you know, over at Pecan Grove, we've got some sweet potatoes over there still growing. Of course, the Danny corn still in the drying stages over there. Wanda and I take maybe 100 ears at a time and bring them back over here. I think we've only done like maybe 300 ears or 2 to 300 ears right now. I'm trying to get my corn crib cleaned out and get it ready so that when it's just dry enough for me to harvest, and the corn is all pretty much uniform as far as being dry where we can slip shuck it, we'll start piling it in the corn crib. We're just being patient with that. Don't really have a whole lot of other stuff other than what little bit of stuff we got in the high tunnels, and that is so hot in them high tunnels right now. We've got the fans going in them constantly all day, and the temperature is exceeding, you know, a tremendous amount. Even with the fans going and the shade cloth on and everything, it's just when you got 126 degree heat indexes, it gets pretty bad. Now, we did harvest a pineapple. We showed y'all that on the live stream the other night. It actually popped into our mind that we actually had one out there in our little greenhouse on the back of the shop. Now, that greenhouse runs 120 to 130 degrees all the time. Those pineapples literally love it. So Miss Wanda harvested one. We weighed it on the live stream. It was 5 pounds and 3 ounces or something like that. Beautiful pineapple. A little odd shaped, but it was pretty. So we have the pineapples coming in, things like that. The muscadines are loaded. If nothing happens, they are loaded. Not only here, but at Pecan Grove. We have some muscadine vines over there that the elderly people that used to live there had, and they were all out of control, and I cut them way back. And of course they don't have many on them because I cut them back so bad, but and we built new arbors and stuff like that, so they'll eventually probably pull out and do okay. And the cows is doing good over there. But to get back to where I was originally going, after giving you the update, things don't always go like you planned for them to go. You know, like I said, we had tons of things planned for today because today was going to be one of those cooler days. And I got up at about 1 o'clock in the morning. I just woke up and my body felt funny. And I said, I thought maybe I was just dreaming something. So I went and, I had to go urinate, use the bathroom. I come back, laid back down. In an hour, I woke up feeling that same feeling again. And, of course, I had to go back to the bathroom again. And I came and I laid back down. And I said, am I dreaming something? Did I dream this feeling that I felt in my body? And then I went back to sleep, and at 3:30, I woke up, doubled up. I literally had a kidney stone passing. Now, this kidney stone's been hurting me for months. And that thing was on the move, and usually I can grit my teeth, and I've passed a many one of them without even going to the doctor or anything like that. And this one, I waited from 3:30 till about 5:30. I thought maybe it might pass, and I'd done every position I knew to get in, done everything I knew to do. I was drinking all my lemon water, my apple cider vinegar. I was down anything I could, And finally, I told Wanda, I said, it got to a point where I just told her, well, I eat breakfast, and I told her, I said, it's done got to a point. I said, look, at 5:30, I told her, I says, we got to go, you got to take me to the doctor. And we got to the doctor's office, and of course they, checked me in and it was the ER we went to, and I got in there and they questioned me and tested me and everything, and they came in and gave me some morphine, some Stadol, Zofran, because I'd done eating. I was getting sick at my stomach from the pain. And I have a very, very, very high pain tolerance. I mean, I have a really high pain tolerance. And if I go to a doctor, it's bad. Well, they took me in, done some scans on me, and come back and told me, said, you got a kidney stone right at the neck of your bladder, just fixing to go in your bladder. And then you've got a really, really big one in your kidney. They said it's not in a position to do any damage right now, but it's there. You're going to have something done about it at some time. And the medicine they gave me, the kidney stone pain went away. I was just like, oh, okay. So, I mean, I quit hurting completely. But then all of a sudden, my stomach started cramping. I doubled up. And I told Wanda, look, you got to understand me. I'm very vocal when it comes to something like that. I told her, I says, here I am. I come into a freaking ER with a kidney stone pain. I said, now the kidney stone ain't hurting. And I've got a severe stomach cramping pain. I don't even know what it is, issue that I didn't have when I come in here. I said, oh my gosh, I come in with one thing, I'm going to end up with something else, and I was just hollering. And Wanda went out and got one of the nurses, and they came back in, and she said, Mr. King, what is wrong? I said, I came in here with a kidney stone pain. I said, now my stomach is in knots. I said, it is hurting worse than the kidney stone was hurting. I said, what the hell did y'all do to me? And, well, sir, we hadn't done nothing to you. I said, something's wrong because I didn't have this problem when I came in here. And I told them they wanted to give me more pain meds. I said, no, you're not giving me no more pain meds. I said, how do we know the pain meds didn't cause this? Well, we don't know. I said, then why do you want to give it to me? And finally, after about 15 minutes of just arguing back and forth with them, I told them, I says, give me some Maalox. Because they wanted to give me all kinds of Prilosec. I said, I'm allergic to Prilosec. They wanted to give me, I don't know, a ton of different other stuff. They said, well, if it was left up to me, I would take a low dose of morphine and some Norco and stuff like that to see if we can't alleviate. I said, no. I said, my stomach's already hurting. You're going to make it worse. And they said, sir, what do you want me to do? I said, look, give me some Maalox. Some Maalox. And she said, what kind do you want, liquid or tab? I said, I want liquid form Maalox. Just give me some liquid form. I said, if you don't have anything that'll calm my stomach down other than a pharmaceutical drug, I said, just give me that. So they came in and they gave that to me. Within 10 seconds, the pain just went away, And And they came back in and they said, well, how you doing? I said, well, pain went away. My stomach ain't hurt no more. I said, but the pain medication is wearing off for the kidney stone. You know, I said, it's starting to hurt again. And she said, well, she says, I can give you some more pain meds if you want me to. And I told her, I says, no, I really don't. I said, it's not bad. I said, but just give me just a little bit of time here. Let me think about this. And when they left out of the room, I felt, I've had kidney stones enough in my life. I know when one's fixing to go in the bladder. There's a burning pain that you get through your urinary tract. And I was up walking around the room on my toes, dropping and on my heels and all kinds of stuff. And I felt that pain starting to Wanda. I said, well, here it goes. It's fixing to go. And she says, what do you mean? I said, I can tell I got that burning pain in my urinary tract. I said, it's fixing to happen. And about that time, snap of a finger, all pain was gone. And I sit back down on the bed, and she said, what is it? I said, it passed into my bladder. I said, now, from the bladder out, she's not that bad. I told her, I said, it's uncomfortable, but it's not that bad. And the nurse came back in, and she says, well, what do you think about the pain meds? I said, I'm ready to go home. I said, it just went in my bladder. And she said, well, how do you know? And I told her, I explained to her, I said, look, I know what I'm talking about. I've had so many of these in the past, I know what I'm talking about. So, on the way home, I was fit to be tied, because by then it's like 8:30 in the morning. And I told Wanda, I said, this is just about right. I said, here we are. I said, the whole time I'm like, God, would you please just help this pain to go away, please? I said, what did I do to deserve this morning? And, you know, I said, and then when we was leaving the ER coming home, I told her, I said, yeah, I hate the devil. I just hate the devil. I said, he has robbed me of a beautiful morning of being able to just get out and do stuff. It was cool this morning. I said, and the devil has robbed me of it. And she says, Danny, hold on. Title of Porch Time today. Oh, you can't have it both ways. Okay? And I sit there for a moment and I said, what do you mean I can't have it both ways? She said, well, a while ago you were saying, God, why you let me in all this pain? And now you're saying the devil caused it. She said, you can't have it both ways, Danny. And I told her, I said, you know what? I said, you're right. And a thought came back to me from an old pastor. He and I were real good friends. And we used to talk a lot together. And back when I was preaching a lot. And I always sought advice, you know, from elders and stuff like that. He was a really older gentleman. And he was just loaded with wisdom. And you know, these old men, people forget what they know. You know, and no, you can't have it both ways. I mean, that is the thing about it. These elderly gentlemen, if people would just stop and take the time to bask in the wisdom that some of these elderly gentlemen have, we could learn a lot from them. And he just sat and he just began to talk to me, and he began to tell me all kinds of stuff, and I was just like, wow. You know, I mean, he called to memory the things, you know, like Job, when Job was, you know, he lost all of his kids, he lost all of his possessions and all that. Job didn't do anything really wrong. But it was the devil who went before God and said, and God said, I know you're watching my servant Job there, are you considering him? And the devil, you know, the devil's a typical devil. And he was like, you know, well, he said, if you didn't have that hedge about him where I could, you know, you let me touch him and I guarantee you he'll curse you to your face. And of course we know the story. God let him take his children, take his possessions. And Job was still a good man. He was an upright man. He feared God and eschewed the evil, put all that behind him. And he, you know, then Satan went back before him again, and God said, well, are you still considering him? He says, you let me touch his body. I'll touch his body, he'll curse you, you know. And there we was, and he, you know, gave him boils from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet, you know. He says he just sit in the piles of ashes, old pieces of pottery, and just scraped himself all the time. And he still held his integrity. And, you know, so many times in our life, when things like happened this morning, we plan our life out. And when we plan our life out, you always hear the old adage, if you want to make God laugh, just tell him your plans. Well, I got kind of highly upset this morning. You know, like I said, I was blaming God, blaming the devil, and Wanda had to kind of like reel me back in there. And then I began to sit and think about things of the past and think about how things had manifested in my own life over the years. And you know, the old preacher that I was telling you about, one of the wise things he imparted upon me was, he said, Danny, he said, you can't blame the devil for everything, and you can't blame God. He said, because I'll give you for instance, he said, if you drive a car long enough, or a truck, you're going to have a flat tire. And he said, and God or the devil didn't have nothing to do with the flat tire. It just happens. If you drive one long enough, you're going to have a flat tire. If you live long enough, you're going to get sick. You know, he said, God or the devil ain't had nothing to do with either one of them. So you can't really just say God did this or the devil did that. Sometimes life just happens. And that's what Wanda was trying to tell me this morning. She said, Danny, sometimes life just happens. You've been dealing with this kidney stone now for months. And you've just been laying balled up during the day. I mean, you go out and you work during the morning and you push it till you can't take the pain anymore. You come home, you lay around because you're just in pain. Y'all don't know about these things because you just see me like I am here now. But I spend several hours a day just laying down trying to get out of pain because that kidney stone was just about to kill me. And I'm not one to go to a doctor. I literally hate going to a doctor. But sometimes I realize when it comes to a certain point, you've got to do what you've got to do. And when they gave me the meds this morning, and the funny thing, this was the funny thing here. The nurses came in and they were like, okay, what list of medications are you on? I said, I don't take any. Well, what do you take for your stomach problems? I said, I don't have stomach problems and I don't take anything. Well, what kind of medical conditions do you have? I told him, I said, I have an irregular heartbeat. Well, what do you take for it? I said, nothing. Well, why not? I said, because I've tried, years ago I tried everything they gave me and did none of it work. I said, so I just quit taking it. And I'm still here, you know. And they said, so you literally don't take anything. I said, nope. They said, well, you don't have to, you know, if it's a kidney stone, you have to quit drinking coffee and tea. I said, whoa. I said, I'm an organic eater pretty much, and I only drink water. I said, coffee or tea has not touched my lips in, I know, 11 to 15 years, somewhere in that range. And they're like, really? And I told them, I said, I drink my scuppernong juices, my orange juices from my own oranges. I drink my own water from my well, not from a municipal water service. I said, I don't put the chlorinated junk in my system. I told him, I said, I'm strictly I strictly try to take care of myself. I raise what I eat. And that blew them all away that I was not taking some sort of medications at my age. And I told them, I said, look, I said, I hate to even have to take something for pain. They said, but what do you take for your, like when you have your normal pains that you have? Do you take Tylenol, aspirin, what is it? I said, I don't take anything. I said, I just bear it. I said, my pain tolerance is really high. I said, I was just trained to ignore the pain. And they was like, really? I told them, I said, yeah. And then one of the nurses come in to talk to me, and she talked to me for about 15 minutes, and she said, look, what do you want? She says, I can tell right now that if I tell you to go home and get bed rest, that's not going to happen. She said, because you done told me you didn't get to feed all your cows this morning. I said, nope, I still got my other property way away from here that I got to go feed and water them cows. And I got other things that's got to be done there. I said, so when I leave here, that's where I'm going. And she says, even with the pain meds we gave you, I said, look, I'm going to leave here and I'm going to go finish what I've started doing. Okay? I said, the pain meds are not affecting me at all. I said, now they've killed my pain back. I said, but I'm going to keep on doing what I'm doing. That's just who I am. I'm not going home. I'm not laying down. I'm not going to dilly-dally the rest of the day. And she said, well, I done pretty much figured that out. So, so we can't blame God, or we can't really say God had anything to do with a lot of this stuff that just happens to us, because like blaming God for, I had this problem, and I'm going to be talking to myself mostly today, okay, y'all? I'm just talking to myself. There was a period in my life, I went through a stage where I blamed God for a lot of things that happened in my life. I felt like God was just tempting me with one thing right after another. And my old preacher brother gave me a verse. He said, I want you to memorize this and I want you to ever forget it. James chapter 1, verses 13 and 14. He said, go look that up. Well, I did, and it says, let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God. For God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. But every man is tempted when he's drawn away of his own lust and enticed. And at that very moment I said, the Bible has a verse for everything. I mean, literally everything. And that just burned into my memory. And I realized God doesn't tempt me. I'm only tempted with certain things when I'm drawn away by my own wicked lust of certain things, and I'm drawn into it because I'm just human. I'm like the Apostle Paul said, I don't do what I should do. I do what I shouldn't do. It's not me, but it's the flesh that makes me do it. And we're weak. And Christ said when we're weak, then he should be strong in our life. So we have to kind of, guys, we just got to quit putting blame where it really don't belong. Because the bottom line is, many things that just happens in our life, it's just going to happen regardless. And we try to find someone to pin it on, or we try to find something to pin it on. If nothing else, we say, the devil made me do it. Well, no, the devil doesn't make us do a lot of the things that we do. Now, our old sinful fleshly nature will make us do a lot of things. But I just sit back, and today, we went on to Pecan Grove when we left. Wanda asked me, said, you ready to go home? I said, no, I'm ready to go to Pecan Grove. So, I said, but I can't really do anything because I need my truck. I got things in my truck I got to have, so we got to go to the house for me to get my truck. So we came all the way to the house, got my truck, we drove all the way to Pecan Grove, and I told her, I says, it's a cool day. It's only 102 heat index. To me, compared to what 120 something is, that's like a cold front come through almost. And I went to a certain point. I went way past dinner, and she said, "Look, we gotta go. It's just getting hot." And I told her, I said, "I know it's getting hot." I said, "But dadgummit," I said, "I lost the whole morning. It was cool, and it just irritates me." And she told me, she said, well, working out here in this heat ain't gonna make it come back. And I told her, I says, I know. And we left about 2 o'clock, 2:30, I think it was 2:30, we left coming back home. And I come here, I told her, I says, I'm gonna do porch time. While this is on my mind, I'm just gonna go do porch time. So, don't let it bother you when you make plans and you're not able to fulfill them. I mean, I've had to literally, most of my stress today has been self-inflicted because I got angry right off the bat. And I used to have a bad problem with anger, but I've pretty much, as I've got older, I've gotten a lot of it under control. My temper don't get away from me like it used to and stuff, and I've mellowed out a lot, but I do still have my moments of anger, and I come to the realization, I couldn't change it. It's just one of the things that happened. I've been hurting for months, and at some point, it was going to happen. Now, Wanda and I both had been praying that this thing would ease up on me and pass on out of me where I could be pain-free, which, hallelujah, praise the Lord, right now I'm pain-free. First time in months I've been pain-free. So I'm trying to find the blessing in it. You know, my whole thing has been 2023 is going to be a year of solutions. So I had a challenge this morning. The solution is I'm pain-free now. I've been praying to be pain-free. Now, God didn't tell me how He was going to make it happen. He just said, okay. So I have to accept the fact that I got a huge medical bill now, and He's going to help me pay that, I'm sure. And I'm pain-free. You know, I'm thankful. Now I've learned to be thankful. And that's my solution for this, is thankfulness for being out of pain for months and months of being in pain. This thing finally passed. Now, it's not all the way out of me. I know that. But I also know there's some uncomfortable days coming. And when they come, I'll deal with them as best as I can. And I won't blame nobody for that because it's just part of the process. So, I told Wanda, I said, I ought to title this video today, If I Were the Devil. I said, but then again, that would sound not so good because Paul Harvey also had a video called If I Were the Devil. And I told her, I said, I don't want to try to sound like I'm stealing something from somebody else, but, you know, if I were the devil, I would try to make people blame God for everything and give me credit for everything. So, you know, if I were the devil, that's what I'd do. So I want to try to reverse that psychology and do away with it. And say, you know what? My body manufactures kidney stones. It's done it my whole life. I've been through every freaking test in the world. I've had them tell me stay away from coffee, stay away from tea, stay away from greens, stay away from broccoli, all collards, all kinds of stuff. Stay away from cranberries because of the oxalates in it. I mean, just on and on and on and on and on. And I told him, I said, look, you just telling me I can't eat, period. And if I don't eat, I'll die. I said, so you know what? Some things I know that's not good for me, like the caffeine and the soda pops and the tea and all these kinds of things. I said, I'll stay away from all that kind of stuff. But my fruits and vegetables, no, I am not going to stay away from them. I do believe that the reason this thing did finally go ahead and pass is because I've been drinking a lot of apple cider vinegar with the mother in it. I've been drinking my own scuppernong juice that we squeeze. I've been drinking my own orange juice. I've been drinking my own lemon juice. I've been eating our own homemade cranberry sauces and that kind of stuff. And I think just a mixture of all that stuff just finally made it happen, and I'm pain-free. Okay? So, it's kind of funny sometimes how we want to just pass the blame off to somebody else. It's just human nature to do that, you know? So, guys, if you're having problems, just remember, you can't have it both ways. You can't blame the devil and you can't blame God. Now, sometimes it is one and sometimes it is the other. But let me rest assured and tell you one thing. If you are a child of the King, the devil cannot do one thing to you without the Father's permission. Because just like when Satan went against Job, the Father had to give him permission to touch Job. Because you belong to the King. You belong to the King of Kings if you have accepted Him as your Savior. And as a result, you cannot be touched. You are untouchable unless the Father permits it. And the thing that you have to understand, that it takes, sometimes this is my hardest one now, is if the Father permits it, He's got your back. He's not going to let the old devil go any further than he allows him to. Because remember with Job, he told him, he says, you can touch his body, but you cannot take his life. So we see that there are limitations. In other words, the Father puts limitations out there. And remember, and this is another one of the hard parts that we have to stop and think about. We have to go back and we have to read the end of Job's life. When we got to the end, you know, all of his friends accused him of this and accused him of that and everything, and Job just still held his integrity, you know. And at the end, at the very end, Job ended up with 10 more children, which meant he had 20 now altogether. 10 was in heaven, possibly. And then he had 10 more, which gave him 20 children. It was double the amount of kids. His possessions doubled. So we have to see God, what is it? The book of Isaiah, is it Isaiah? The medication's still in my head. I'm still a little bit fuzzy on some things. God says, I know the plans that I have for you, and they're good. So, just like the Lord, when he spoke to Job, and when Job was complaining, he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm just going to paraphrase it. Hey, buddy, where were you when I hung the stars and I put the planets in orbit, and when the wild donkeys bray in the mountains out there and they giving birth? Where are you at when all this takes place? Tell me, Job. Tell me. Where were you when I done all this? If you're so wise, where were you when I done these things? In other words, what he was telling Job, Job, I know what's best. If you will just hold your integrity, I will bless you beyond measure. And Job trusted him, and in the end, Job ended up with twice his possessions, his wealth, everything was doubled. Kids were doubled. I mean, everything was doubled. Now, I'm sure you got to use a little common sense here. Now, if Job had boils from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet, a boil leaves a tremendous scar on the human body, which tells me that Job's body was disfigured a fairly good bit, I'm pretty sure, because it was on his face and his head and, you know, I mean, his arms and legs and everywhere else, his feet. I'm sure his body was massively scarred everywhere. He probably was disfigured in some way. Probably not pleasant to look upon after that. But that didn't change God's love for him. And we have to understand, God's love goes deeper than the physical appearances that we have. I mean, lots of people look at me and go, why do you wear them overalls all the time? Why don't you wear some blue jeans? Well, I could. I think I got 2 pair at the house, maybe 3. I could wear blue jeans. But I'm not out to win a beauty contest. You know, I mean, I just wear my old work clothes. I don't care where I go. I got my work clothes on. Now, I can put a suit on, which I wore a suit for many, many years of my life. But I can sit down with the President of the United States and carry on a conversation with him. Not Joe, not the one now. Because I'm sorry, I got to get off of that because I got onto a bad thing here. But normally, I mean, I can sit down and talk with very elite people on their level. Or I can sit down with a farmer with overalls on and I can talk on his level. And that's why I like wearing overalls. They're comfortable. You know, I mean, they're easy on, easy off. I'm usually cutting wood, sawing sawdust. That stuff just falls through the overalls and it comes out your feet down there. You know, it don't get hung up around a belt line. And we're always getting asked, what do y'all do for the chiggers and stuff like that? Well, when you're wearing overalls, you don't really have a belt line for chiggers, because chiggers like to get right up around your waistline and stuff like that and just burrow into you. I don't really have a problem with that. I go into the woods all the time. Haven't had a tick on me in years. Matter of fact, I ain't even seen a tick on our property in years. And not to say they ain't here, but, and I'm always in the deep grass and in the woods and everything, but guys, sometimes life just is what it is. I mean, I got to tell you this. As I was getting ready to leave the hospital, this lady came in, and she had a pretty harsh attitude. And Wanda was mentioning to her, she was asking about my problems, and Wanda said, well, his wife passed away in his arms, you know, several years ago, and after that, she's asking about my heart conditions and all that kind of stuff, and she said, well, she looked at me and she says, I know how you feel. She said, I lost my daughter, my only child, a couple of months ago, and all my family's dead except me. I'm the last one left. I retire in 11 days. And I'm fixing to get the HELL out of here. And I'm just fixing to go travel. Because I'm by myself. I have no mate. I'm just going to go live. You know, and I told her, I says, ma'am, I said, life is about the journey. Remember that. It's about the journey. And she looked at me and she told me, she said, sweetheart, you are so right. It is about the journey. I said, yes, ma'am. I said, go live your life and enjoy it. Don't be bitter. Enjoy the time that you have. And so, was my time in the ER for that lady? I look at every aspect that I can look at as why did that happen to me? Why did I end up in the ER? At that particular moment, that lady's fixing to retire in 11 days, and I gave her a word of encouragement, and it seemed to have made her feel a little better because she was laughing a little bit. So, did God put me there for just that one soul? Sometimes in life, the Lord puts us in places that are uncomfortable just so we might touch one person's life. So always remember that. And also the scripture tells us, you know what? To be careful. Because sometimes we entertain angels unaware. Remember that the next time you run into somebody that seems a little bit different. Maybe they're there just to see if you'll do what you're actually supposed to do as a child of the King. Thank you guys from Deepsouth Homestead.